Awesome. So let's begin our Standing with Humanity Fall 24 Symposium. But before I begin, everyone, let's just take a deep breath. I know for me personally, it was a tough semester. So, we made it. It's the crossing line at the end now. And I always love the fall semester ending, right into Christmas vibes. So we want to start talking about all the wonderful work that all of the service learning students and the community partners did throughout the semester. So it's kind of a great way to wrap it up. I can start with the work that I've done with RotaCare, keeping in mind the theme of standing with humanity. So this fall, through my work with RotaCare, I had the privilege of witnessing what it truly means to stand with humanity. RotaCare's mission to provide free healthcare to uninsured and underserved individuals, many of whom are immigrants, is a profound example of both learning and advocacy in action. One moment that really resonated with me was during a clinic shift when I helped a patient with intake paperwork. It was only a simple task, but the patient shared how relieved they were to like finally receive American care after years because they were going back and forth from Guatemala. And they also weren't able to really do that until they found RotaCare because of financial and systematic barriers. What stood out most was their expression of gratitude, not just for the healthcare itself, but just for being treated with dignity, And that moment reminded me that standing with humanity is about more than just providing resources like healthcare. It's about creating spaces where people feel seen, valued, and respected. Through RotaCare, I saw how small acts of care, like listening or offering assistance, can restore a sense of dignity to individuals who feel invisible within the larger systems. This experience really reinforced the importance of bridging the gap between theory and action that we students practice. It's one thing to learn about inequalities in a classroom, but it's another to actively work within a community to address them. And I really appreciate Dominican Service Learning Program providing that for us. For me, standing with humanity means showing up, listening, and advocating for the systems that prioritize equity and respect for all. That being said, I would like to present our next wonderful presenter. Her name is Kaitlyn, and she'll be talking about her work with health hubs.
Hi, I'm Kaitlyn. I'm a sophomore nursing student. This semester, I had two service learning courses, cultural anthropology and healthcare ethics. I did my community partner at Health Hubs, which is a program put on by Marin Community Clinics. It's a healthy food distribution service outside of the Marin Community Clinics in San Rafael. I did it every Wednesday, and we were able to create food packages with healthy ingredients. And I would help put together the packages as well as doing intake with the community members that came by. And it was really cool to work with them because they didn't limit themselves to just patients of the clinic. It also included anybody from around the Marin area. And I pulled a quote from my service learning class. It's from Paul Farmer's Reimagining Accompaniment. And it says, as long as poverty and inequality persist, as long as people are wounded and imprisoned and despised, we humans will need accompaniment, practical, spiritual, and intellectual. I was able to apply this knowledge to my community by committing to the work and becoming an active listener. Instead of listening to what you think that the community members needed, we took their intake and we listened to truly what they wanted and needed. And I was able to build long-term relationships and utilizing solidarity. I really enjoyed my time at Health Hubs because originally I was unfamiliar with the group I was working with. And it was just really, I really enjoyed getting that insight of how to help your community and stuff. But yeah, I had a really good time and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your insight, Caitlin. Our next guest I'd like to introduce is Elke Moerkeseth, and I'm so sorry if I pronounced her name wrong. Suffer that all the time. But she is working with Next Gen Scholars this semester.
I'm Elke Moerkeseth. I got the privilege of working with Next Generation Scholars this year. I'm a sophomore kinesiology major. I was taking ethics from the margins as my service learning course, my ethics course. Next Generation Scholars is an amazing opportunity just for students in low income communities to be able to get extra education support, whether it be tutoring. They have class support and class projects that can help them with advancing for like college and things like that. I got the privilege of observing a freshman class that was working on a theater project with Marin Shakespeare Company, as well as tutoring a group of students. I had a senior in high school. I helped out a junior in high school. I had two freshmen that I worked with the most consistently, and then one other freshman. And I honestly think that Next Generation Scholars helped me more than I feel like I might have helped them. Through the acting with Marin Shakespeare Company, there was 3 students that were able to create their own scripts for the play that they did. It's happening today. I unfortunately cannot make it. I'm really bummed about that, but they chose which they were pushed to choose really strong topics that they saw. And one student was working create a script that was based off of school bullying, school shootings, which was very strong and really moving. Like I was sitting here as like a sophomore in high school, really like eye open to the fact that they were comfortable creating a script and speaking on that, and all the students really took to that really well. And then another student was talking about immigration and deportation. And again, the students were really adapting to like these strong topics and didn't really make a joke of it. And it was just really moving for me. And I really enjoyed my time. And I really enjoyed tutoring as well. I got really close with 2 of the girls, and they we would finish our tutoring and they always just wanted to chit chat for a little bit. And so I just was really grateful for that opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much. I'm glad you had fun throughout the semester. Our next guest is Shawn Cole, and he's the Director of Education and Programs at NextGen.
Hello, my name is Shawn Cole. I'm the Director of Education and Programs for Next Generation Scholars, which is just a fancy way to say that I oversee all programming associated with filling the lines and filling the seats. So academics and admissions, all aspects of academic services, but also making sure that the communication as far as cross-functional teams is there. And so I found what I love to do. And one thing that really stuck out to me that Elke was just mentioning was that she feels like NGS helped her more than she helped NGS, and I feel the same. I feel like personally and professionally, a lot of the ways I've been able to grow has been in large part because of that symbiotic relationship of what it means to simply support people and care for people. With everything that NGS does, with the laundry list that we do, the things that stresses us out in all the best ways. What it comes down to in terms of advocacy is kind of like the whole teaching a person to fish type of model, developing independence and challenging them to really be able to articulate themselves and what they love about themselves, what they don't they find difficult about themselves, the world around them, all the things. Because if you can't articulate that in terms of like even the example that Elke was just mentioning, if you can't articulate those stories, you can't hope to actually effectively address them. And so when it comes to the work that we do at NGS, yes, we're college bound. Yes, we're academic services. Yes, we're family services. At the end of the day, it's all about creating a space and holding a space for all of our students and our families to simply exist in a world that tells them they can't. Because at that point, that's when the whole self-advocacy starts, because you're able to stop running away from your story, but rather tell your story and lean into it. And so yeah, if you have questions later, I'm more than happy to to answer those questions or to to nerd out with you. But that's effectively what I appreciate most about NGS is that we really see the whole child, we see the whole family, we see the whole parent, and we work with them from a human perspective in terms of advocacy, whether it's us advocating for them, but also making sure that we support them in developing their skills of self-advocacy, because that's the only way we can effectively support them.
Thank you so much, Shawn. That was truly wonderful to hear. The next person I'd like to introduce is Stephanie, who is a fellow Edge member, and she's also my co-moderator.
My name is Stephanie, and I am a social justice major with a pre-law minor. This semester, I had the privilege of working with the AB60 program. Honestly, at first, I was like, okay, it's just one more thing I had to do, because I didn't know I was enrolled in a service learning class, let alone having to do service with the community. Showing up, with my very much limited Spanish, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be burnt alive over there. I don't know if I was gonna be able to be any of help. But after the first couple of times I went in there, honestly, the program not only provided like a crucial support in guiding to the community and the members that would come in, and just knowing that they had that community come in and find the help that they needed, to me was everything I needed to see to approach the service learning with a different mindset. And having been before the whole community service organization and everything. I was a sociology major. I went in there and I was just like, man, this is really what I want to do. I just didn't know that it was an option. And just like my role over there was to attend, help out workshops and help the community members who would come and help them study for their driver's license. My program is the AB60 program that helps undocumented immigrant get their license under that. And so it was more like a lot of people didn't really know about it. So we had outreach where we would go out to the community and share what we do. And one of my highlights would always going up to community members and starting the sentence in Spanish. And they're like, hablas español? And I'm like, un poquito. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but they would always understand me. And as of recent, we, leading up to one of the outreach we had, which was the Know Your Rights, and the Know Your Rights, it was led to from a class discussion that we had. We were studying a sociologist named Galish Boza. I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, but her theory, it highlights the intersection of immigration law enforcement and human rights, and particularly how policies, shape the lives of immigrants' family and the communities. And honestly, although I cannot even begin to relate to a lot of the struggles and the challenges that the immigrant community face, but I have my own challenges, and I know deep down how I can connect with them. And to me, going in there after the election, which was not the result a lot of us were expecting, I went in there not knowing what to expect, because this is a vulnerable community. We don't really know what's going on through their head. And so like when I went in there, we had the outreach, which was the Know Your Right. And then we had this moment going from talking to these people about their driver's license and the things that we can do to help them, and transitioning to so we are letting you know about your rights and the things that you do in the event that something happened, because we do not know what the next 4 years hold for the community. So I had an interaction with a community member. I remember we were passing out flyers in the community about the ICE, or like how ICE affected the community, what they do, and how they can really impact your life within a second. And I walked into a shop, and when I started talking about ICE, there was a lady. She thought I had said that I worked with ICE, and the fear in her face is what broke me. I was like, no, 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 like that is not what I do. I talk about, I am with the Canal Alliance. I'm a Dominican University student. We're going around like, and encouraging people and telling people about their rights in case of the worst event, to happen. And then there she calmed down and she was like, okay. And then she had so many questions that unfortunately I couldn't answer. She was asking, well, why are you passing these out? And I'm like, honestly, given the recent result of the election, we can't really tell what's going to happen. We don't know what the next 4 years are going to look like. But what we can do is provide you guys with a community that will always be there to support you and like help in the way that we do. And as an immigrant myself, like having from Haiti, the moment that I saw her face, it only reminded me of my mother, because that night of the election, she came to me and she was like, she doesn't understand the election the way I do, and her concern, and she was asking like, well, what are we gonna do? Like, should I be worried? And I having to reassure her that, like, I don't know myself, but I have to put up a face to tell her like everything will be okay, not knowing whether or not if everything is going to be okay. That is unfortunately an answer that I do not have. But in the moment, the reflection that I had was that same conversation 2 nights ago I had with my mom, and to me that is forever going to be in my head. So like I am very thankful that I was able to participate in this community, and wanting to go back next semester with whether or not I'm not in a service learning class, and even wanting to be an immigration lawyer now, like this is something that working with the community, I have come to realize this is what I want to do. And I want to do it because I'm from an immigrant family. I've come from, having to translate for my own mother, having to do her paperwork. And I'm like, it's my calling. It's what I have to do. And I will not be okay if that's not what I do. So thank you for, the opportunity and everything. Like to introduce our next speaker, Starlight.
So my work was with the Youth Transforming Justice Mentoring Program at San Pedro Elementary. As an education major, it was very interesting to see the differences between working with elementary school students versus when I go in to do my student observations at Davidson. I primarily had about 5 students that I worked with one-on-one on Mondays. When I went in, I was like, I don't know what this is about. I don't know how comfortable they're going to be with me. The first day was a little weird, I would say. All of them were very quiet. 2 of them were actually more outgoing than the others, which was interesting to see. But as the time went on, I grew a bond with each of my students, and specifically one of them in particular. And every time I came in, he would just come up to me and give me like the biggest hug and embrace. And whether I was going through a hard day or something, that hug always like warmed my heart, and it kept me going throughout the week. And as well as he would always give me a hug at the end and say, I'm gonna miss you and everything. I did work with some of the students on being able to speak up about times when they were being bullied, just because I was reached out by the assistant principal to have a conversation with them about being bullied and how to like speak up about it, because a lot of them weren't speaking up about it, and it was seen by a lot of like the faculty and staff. I had a conversation with a lot of the students about bullying, and I didn't know how to take the conversation at first because I didn't want to like make it all about like, oh, my experience about being bullied. But after talking with Dr. Wu about the whole situation with students being bullied, she said that I should take it in a personal approach where I could be like, I was in a position where I was bullied, but being able to talk to someone other than a faculty and staff member hopefully will give them a lot of strength and courage to like speak up. When I was doing those conversations, it got really personal and to a point where I think they felt more comfortable about being around me. And since then on, I've created a deeper connection with them, and being immigrant myself, I think that gave them a lot of courage to just feel comfortable with me because I am Guatemalan, and most of the students at San Pedro are from Central America, particularly from Guatemala itself. So I made that personal connection there.
They could have Starlight done because that was getting hard to hear him. Let's move on.
Thank you so much, Star, for sharing. We also have Sakai, who worked with the same organization, and I would love for her to give her intake on that.
I'm Sakai Law. I'm a sophomore and I major in social justice, and I have a pre-law minor. I worked with Youth Transforming Justice. This is my second year working with them. I work with the peer team, so I'm different from Starlight. I'm a case manager, and I pretty much help like students. I help guide students through the program and through the restorative plan, and like help with hearings at times. Because their mission is to stop the school to prison pipeline with restorative justice. I feel like it's very important because when I was in school, like middle and high school, I was a part of a couple of restorative circles, and they weren't really like implicated or funded. These were like parents that volunteered their time and came to help with those type of issues instead of like letting kids get suspended or expelled, or like in worse trouble than that, they would come and help with these restorative circles. For me personally, when I was in them, like the first one I was ever in, it was because of I had witnessed a fight, and they needed like more input and wanted to like see like more different sides of things. And I never really understood why we needed to like sit in a circle and talk about it when the fight already happened. It's over. Like, what can we do now? But like as we were talking through it and we were talking to each other, we were getting like more open and honest with each other. It was just like a very like weird but good feeling, like that we like had resolved something even though we thought it was already resolved. And I just think that work is very important and needs to be implicated into schools instead of just tossing kids away and expelling them, because what are they learning from being expelled other than, oh, I get into a fight, or I don't do my work, or I get in trouble for all these different things. I just get to be out of school. They're losing out on an education, like time with their peers. It just doesn't make sense to keep having to do these to kids. And then like also when kids are being put into juvie, there's a high like recidivism rate for them to keep going in and out and in and out and in and out because they're getting used to it. And the youth transforming justice program is like so important, and they're so like widely ranged like throughout the Bay, that like when I'm like a part of like the meetings, like the peer team hearings, they're so like open, and they like students feel more comfortable when they're talking with peers against like when they're talking with adults. And so you get more out of it, and they feel more safe to like talk and feel like they're being more seen than judged. And like the kids that I've got the pleasure of working with are all like very kind, sweet kids that just happen to do something bad and treated like they were these horrible people because they did something like not minimal, but they know what they did was wrong, and they're like atoning for their actions, and they're understanding, and they're giving back to the community because of what they did, and they all get through the program like fine with me. I feel like the most memorable moment for me was the first day that I went to training my freshman year. I went to their building, and we just like sat in a circle, and just like we pretty much just had our own like restorative like just a circle, but to get to know each other. And we were in there, and we were being very like vulnerable and honest, and just talking about our past and like what we want for the future. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I can't wait to work with them more, and maybe work with other places as well, because you guys all are very interesting ones that you've been to or talked about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sakai, for sharing. And up next, I would like to ask if Natalya is ready to share.
My name is Natalya. I'm a junior nursing major with a community action and social change minor. This semester, I was with Canal Alliance's University Prep program. It's an after-school program for middle schoolers and high schoolers that come from San Rafael City schools. The mission of the program is to prepare students to qualify for and enroll in two-year colleges or four-year universities with Canal Alliance's support. As a service learner myself, the routine that I had with the UP program was spending my first hour in a classroom of about 6 middle school students, where I got to know them a little bit and help them with homework or missing assignments. And if students ever finish their homework early, the program provides them with activities like board games, coloring, like art projects or novels that they can check out to read. For my second hour with the program, I work more one-on-one with an 8th grader to do some math homework and reading homework with her. In my class this semester with Dr. Wu, we learned about subaltern communities. They're basically communities of marginalized people who don't have a voice. And the Canal neighborhood, where many of the middle schoolers and high schoolers come from, can be classified as a subaltern community since the residents are Spanish-speaking immigrants. The middle schoolers that I work with have that additional trait that makes them a little bit more voiceless because they're children, so they're not who you would think to go and talk to about like what their situation is. And at the end of each school year for Canal Alliance, they send out a survey for the students to complete about their experience with the university prep program. Last year, the students overwhelmingly said they preferred art projects to complete during the program. So the leaders that I worked with, Miss Cecilia and Miss Elsie, uplift the voices of the students by implementing more art in the activities that they prepare for this school year. So they directly take the suggestions given to them and implement it for the students because it's what they want to do. The students with art, the students are given more opportunity to express themselves, giving value to their voice and allowing them to move away from being voiceless. But Canal Alliance in the organization, not only for the university prep program, but they also uplift voices of all community members when they advocate for the well-being of community members, like improved political representation or rent control in the Canal neighborhood. So it's a very big organization, and they address multiple different like structural barriers that members face in that community. From service learning with Canal Alliance this semester, my biggest takeaway has been to be genuinely present with community members in order to listen and learn from their personal experiences. Like even if they're children, you learn so much from them. And as service learner, like I've developed a deeper understanding of the community by not only learning about the structural barriers that they face, but also the strengths and assets that they already have. And yeah, so I really enjoyed working with the middle schoolers this semester. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalya, for sharing. I hope you know the impact you're making on these kids. They will remember you for the rest of their lives. Next up, I would like to ask if Fatima Rodriguez, who with the Marin County Free Library.
And I'm majoring in nursing. And this semester I got to work with reading buddies in the Novato Library. And my biggest takeaway was that like students at an early age show the need for like engagement and support from older people. What caught my attention during this time was like during the time period that I got to work with the students, during like the first 2 weeks, they were really engaged in learning and asking like questions and wondering like what support they could get from reading buddies. And depending on their situation from home or school, work, they can like count on someone guiding them through like a right path if they're struggling or if they don't get that support from the school system. And that like what made me like the most impactful for my service learning was that like each student truly deserves to feel that they aren't alone at an early age. And this class, my English class, showed me that there are a lot of different ways education can fail at times, and allowed me to see that changes could be made in the education to support children that are in need. And one true thing I can say about education is that it could offer more support to the students that are in need, because many students were coming into the Novato Library were bilingual. So having to go to school learning a new language and not being able to get support from their parents at home was a true impact for me.
You know, thank you so much. Like I said, these kids, they will forever remember you guys, you know, and it's amazing what you do. We appreciate it.
And I work for the Marin County Free Library. I had some kind of like a speech, but Stephanie, you were very inspiring in actually addressing the issues that we are about to face, and that honestly, it is like even political experts today are kind of like hypothesizing what's going to happen, but the great majority of us are just like waiting to see what we are going to be able to do. So it is at times it seems very grim, but we advocates, right? And we are in our own experience, we have that leadership in us. And I look up to you as students as well, because it is the source for this energy and for this knowledge and sharing knowledge that makes even my work very significant. So my role as a co-educator is to connect you, students, with each other. And I work with students from elementary school all the way to college. So I see this, I know you are reading liberation theology and liberation pedagogy. So I know you're very familiar with these works of liberation and empowering each other and having this source of knowledge that is in you, but by your experience. So my job is to connect you with each other so you can empower each other and you can share that knowledge, right? So as a library worker, like I try to break the barriers of access and information and materials, what at the same time, promoting an anti-racist and equity ideology. And as Fatima was mentioning, we work with diverse students from different school grades. For example, I created the library ambassador volunteer position for elementary school students who are not old enough yet to be student volunteers, which is 13 years old. But I opened this position as a library ambassador, so they get the experience of contributing to their library while forging their career, perhaps in not even librarianship, but something else. Or maybe I'm making a volunteer ambassador the next Library of Congress librarian, or to the next director of the library. We don't know the impact that we are doing by opening doors in this way. So I also work with junior high school and high school student volunteers, and with the Department of Probation with the programs for empowering youth in developing career skills. And ideally, this youth will have a career pathway to the library, which this year I'm very happy to announce that we just hired 2 students from the that went through the probation program who are working for the library, and they will be contributing to reading buddies as well. So it's very exciting because at the library we're able to connect all of these students and their different needs and passions, and able to create this community of learning. So thank you all, because without you, like, we wouldn't be able to do that. So in my work as in the library, not first of all, but I was born and raised in Mexico. I came to the US as a college student a little bit later in life, so I was also a non-traditional student. So Spanish is my first language. I learned English when I was in the US, and I was able to get a career in actually art history. But that's another story, and I'm not going to bother you with that. But here at the library, I am the exiting co-chair for the County Library Spanish Services Working Committee. And in that committee, I advocate for services, library services for Spanish-speaking communities in particular, but for all of the communities in general, and with a special focus on migrant communities. So at the same time, I advocate for the library to hire and promote also workers that speak other languages than English, so we can also occupy these places and we can create this even stronger community that because we see each other in places that historically we were not being seen, and politically was designed for us to not be here. So that is very empowering at the same time, because I'm pretty sure that the stories that I am listening from students who are immigrants are like not only resonated with my own, but that's what inspiration comes from too, right? Like that's how inspiration comes for me. And that's how I hope that inspiration comes for you too, because you can see yourself as a person who can occupy those positions that, as the previous speaker said, like we were not taught of being seen there. And at the same time, elementary school students are looking up at you and saying, wow, you look like me and you can do it. I can do it too. So that's kind of like the empowering that just comes by occupying those spaces. In regards to reading buddies, I have been working, coordinating the program for the past 3 years, and I have been learning a lot from every student and from their families. So that part of the learning in serving the community helped me create 2 things. One is a Spanish literacy program for adults, because a lot of immigrant communities who come here, a lot of people do not know how to read or write in Spanish. Sometimes that's not even their first language. So language acquisition becomes very difficult when one doesn't even know the basic skills for reading and writing that can later be translated into learning another language. So in supporting in parents were bringing their students, saying, I want you to help them, but I cannot because I don't know how to read and write in Spanish, so much less in English. So that was like, okay, so the need is how we can create a program that addresses those needs, right? And that's also an invitation for Dominican university students who would be interested in participating in a program like that is not for children, but this more for adults, and that deals with education equity. So with that said, my job is also continuing cultivating and fostering our relationship with Dominican University Service Learning Program and with education equity initiatives such as reading buddies. And like Fatima was mentioning, the importance of the second thing that I learned is that the need that the program needed to be bilingual, because a lot of students are English is their second language, and that's one of the main reasons why they need the program of reading buddies, so they can continue developing the skills for reading in English and the love for reading. So I created the program, or I shift the program to be bilingual, so we can also foster the language that students speak when of origin, right? Like for me was Spanish. And as a big advisor, I can tell you is like, if you foster both languages when you are in college and you need your foreign language requirement, you will not struggle. And you could acquire another language too, that if you want to continue for a graduate degree, like speaking 2 or 3 languages, sometimes 4 languages, depending on the graduate degree that you're pursuing, is very awesome to have, and is a necessity to graduate. But also being bilingual gives these different skills and the possibility to gain a different pay rate for like differential bilingual pay rate, or other programs call it global languages. And with that say, I do focus on Spanish services, but I also contribute with a different committee that is languages committee, so we can promote other languages. So Reading Buddies is not exclusively only for bilingual Spanish and English speakers. We are interested on all sorts of bilingual speakers because our communities are more diverse than just Spanish speakers. So those are kind of like the ways in which my work at the library in relationship, in partnership with the Dominican University and the Service Learning Program is trying to work all of these issues. And thank you so much for all of what you do and for having me here today. I'm sharing my contact information if that's okay. So I wanted to say one last thing also. We are having a Know Your Rights workshop on December 21st from noon to 1:30 p.m. And this is mainly for people who will benefit, immigrants who will like to know their rights as they deal with the potential new administration, what is ahead of us. We always welcome allies, but at this particular workshop, we would like to focus on working directly with the communities who will need it. So please contact me if you are interested on the workshop. Again, it's a Know Your Rights workshop on December 21st from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I hope you know I will be reaching out because all you do sounds amazing and I want to be a part of that. Next, I would like to introduce Olga, who worked with the West Marin and Human Health Services.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Olga Vasquez de Leon. I'm a second-year student here at DUC, and I'm majoring in biology and minoring in chemistry and community action and social change. So thank you for having me today to share some of the work Jacqueline, Estrada Diaz, and I have been doing with Ms. Chloe Cook and the team at Health and Human Services in Point Reyes this semester. We have been working towards supporting the Latin American immigrant community in West Marin. Alongside the staff at HHS and Ms. Chloe, Jackie and I are working towards creating a comprehensive resource guide for newcomers to address the diverse needs of immigrant families in Marin County. We are currently in the data gathering step of this process, where we are gathering confidential input from community members of all parts of West Marin. And this is being done through our Latin American Immigrant Newcomer Support Questionnaire. Jackie and I developed this questionnaire to help us and the HHS staff better understand the needs and challenges faced by newcomers to guide us in providing better support. The resource guide will be different because it's not just a list of resources, but rather on a guide on where to find these resources and how to go about using them. I would like now to share a moment that impacted me this semester. During Jackie and I's first meeting with Miss Chloe, we learned about an elderly woman in West Marin who has been living without running water in her home for a long time. This moment grounded me because I did not know that there were still people in Marin County who currently live in homes without running water. I knew that there is a notable contrast between the wealthiest areas and the lower income neighborhoods, but it's still shocking since Marin County is one of the wealthiest counties in the United States. This woman's story, however, is not unique. It's rather a reflection of the day-to-day or lo cotidiano struggles that many face out in the West Marin community. This showed how the support provided by HHS is important. They help address basic needs like housing, public assistance benefits, and referrals. Our resource guide can also play a role in being with newcomers as support when they are adapting to life in the United States. I think it's also important to look at the bigger picture. When President-elect Trump came into office, immigrant communities throughout the US were consumed by fear. The legacy of systemic racism and implicit biases were unfortunately upheld. Undocumented immigrants were targeted by policies, families were afraid of being separated and seeking any type of help, and workers feared losing their jobs. This all created a frightening and hostile climate. However, on January 20th, 2017, the day of President-elect Trump's inauguration, the community program Standing Together organized an event where the Latin American immigrant community of West Marin was celebrated for their resilience and their contributions. Instead of marking the start of a divisive administration, the community of West Marin decided to honor and celebrate their immigrant community. Here are the words of the local sheriff who addressed the crowd that day. "The last thing I want to do is arrest you and for you to get deported. Help me help you." The celebration showed the power of community and how people come together to support and uplift one another. This was a crucial reminder that the immigrant community is not a problem, but a community to be celebrated. This is the personal impact that service learning has had on Jackie and me. We've seen realities of lo cotidiano, the day-to-day grind, paid witness to mutual aid, and celebrated the resilience of marginalized communities. So once again, thank you so much for letting me share these stories with you today.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I hope you know that the community, they love you and you're doing amazing. Just keep up the good work.
This is our first year hosting service learners in West Marin. And it is a really rewarding and evolving experience for us. Our project is a big one. And for those of you that are interested in learning a little bit more about what drives this work, I put in the Marin Immigrant Rights and Justice link. This is a group of leaders across Marin County, Marin Community Foundation, the government in Marin County. So it would be the Board of Supervisors, HHS, our Homeless Service Division, BHRS, all of our different departments. And the work that we're doing right now in West Marin has grown out of the immigrant rights and justice work that's been really in place since the fear of public charge was brought forth at the original or the first Trump administration. So we have been doing this work for a long time, and I'm really excited to start to build out some tangible resources with the help of Olga and Jackie to put in the hands of our newcomers. So when they come to West Marin or they come to Marin, they're able to be prepared for our laws, our rules, our culture. We deal with clients on a continuous basis who fail to adhere to one small law and have a small violation, and it just catapults into a whole litany of legal issues. And so we're constantly trying to get ahead of those mistakes so that we can really help our newcomers integrate into our communities, our workforce, our families, our neighborhoods more successfully. And so please do go to the Immigrants' Rights and Justice. I want to take just a minute. I know we don't have much time, but just to talk about West Marin. I have some data for you. So West Marin has the largest residency of immigrants. Canal is always expected to have that, but actually, as we look at the numbers, West Marin is highly populated by immigrant Spanish-speaking and Indigenous language speakers. They are our largest portion of our population. 73% of my clients identify as non-English speakers, and as Spanish speakers, the majority of those. We do have some Indigenous language speakers as well. So I think that just really highlights the need for this kind of focused action in West Marin. And as we move into the next 4 years, I'm so glad we've done so much of the work, and that Jackie and Olga have been with me doing this work in prep. Really, we didn't know what the election was going to bring us, but at least we've done some preparation, and we're, our boots are on the ground, and we're ready to serve our neighbors and our immigrant community friends and family. So again, I think this work is fabulous. I'm really excited to be at the table of the service learner work, and I hope and look forward to further collaborations. Thank you all so much. And I'm happy to share any of the resources that Olga, Jackie, and I are developing, because these are not universal to West Marin. They are exclusive to West Marin. They can be universally used. So anything we have is shareable, reproducible, and hopefully could benefit other communities as well. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Chloe. I did receive Elizabeth what she was gonna say, so I'm just gonna read off of what she wrote for me. Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Ramirez, majoring in nursing. This semester I worked with Canal Alliance University Prep. This program is an after-school program that supports students in middle school till high school to be prepared them successfully in college. It also offers many privileges and provides tutoring, homework support, and academic workshop. I was able to work with 8th graders this semester. I helped them with their assignments project. Miss Cecilia was one of the mentors who allowed me to work on art project, and it was a fun experience. I also learned many things about this programming and able to work with students in workshop. Most of these students are Hispanic. I was able to connect or click with them. Working with Canal Alliance University Prep was a wonderful and impactful experience because I had the opportunity to meet new people who also share similar experience throughout education K to 12. I found a passion in service learning while working with other students in education. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing at the last minute. And thank you so much for letting me do this. I'm not the most,
you did
public
beautiful.
speaker person.
You
But yeah,
did.
now is the time. And thank you so much for all the presenters. You guys are doing an amazing work. I hope you know that. Give yourself a pat in the back. If I was in person, I would shake your hands, but I can't right now. So props to you all.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, exquisite students and community mentors, faculty.
Hector, I'm so
leading
sorry. Do you have a question? I see a hand raised.
Thank you. Just congratulations and happy end of the semester. Enjoy your break and we can do it.
Thank you so much. We really need that right now. We got finals. Yeah.
We can do it. That's right. Hector said it. We can do it.